This is more about living in the time of the coronavirus epidemic. The fundamental principle of Darwinism, if there is such a thing, would be survival of the fittest. If the strongest individuals prosper, you could expect that species to improve, that is, to more readily adapt to the conditions in which they exist. The PM's administration practices a form of reverse Darwinism. They want to provide help for people who cannot feed their children or pay for a place in which they can live. For those who cannot manage those basic economies, the government is there to assist them. The government becomes a giant charity. This is the welfare state, the basic dummy crap approach. But in this case, which is the death throes of this country, they want to take this further past democratic sympathy and into outright socialism. They do not want to subvert democracy, far from it. Everything they do will be in the name of democracy. They will maintain it, if in name only. It is capitalism that they want to banish. Obama Lama sought to reverse the course of American colonialism. The PM will continue in that direction, and the eager young Democrats around him will push even further toward an imaginary state that is equal, just, and united. It is called utopia, nowhere. This is that famous road to hell paved with nothing but good intentions. The Democrats are the party of good intentions. The PM is now up to 42 executive orders. I heard a guy on the radio read what he called a quote from the PM before the election. According to him, the PM said, "I have this strange faith in democracy. I believe if you can't raise enough votes, you should not resort to executive orders unless you are a dictator." One of the PM's orders lets transgender athletes participate in women's sports. Also, now that he has the advantage in both the Senate and the House, the PM is putting his call for unity on a back burner. He says if the Republicans won't work with him, he will go on without them. More laughs from the trumpet. Apparently, he and his impeachment lawyers have parted ways. The lawyers will say they quit, and the trumpet will say he told them, "You're fired." In the book I'm reading, the author was writing about common sense. So I am thinking about that. It's hard to define, can be difficult to achieve. The coronavirus dictates much of what we do now, whether it is sensible or not. And I believe it is easier to live under a political agenda than to be guided by common sense. People will defend their political agenda quite fiercely, whether it is sensible or not. They can lose track of what is sensible when they map out the logic of their political beliefs. Common sense may be common, but right now it seems to be rare and even unattainable. Also, I think it's too late for common sense. Our situation in itself means that common sense cannot prevail. That sounds like I'm making excuses, but when the world you live in is crazy, then craziness makes sense, and common sense is useless, out of place, and rather silly. Okay, I admit it. While uploading one of these videos, I watched an episode, part of one, of that old show, The Untouchables. So old it is in black and white, and that is good. That works. It belongs in black and white. The show, not surprisingly, got me thinking about the Mafia. Now, the Mafia was another world where common sense did not apply. It's a rather odd experiment in social Darwinism. In the show, the mobsters deny that there is a mafia. Of course they do. Omerta, the code of silence. So the feds are going after something that officially doesn't exist. The mafia. Ma familia. It got me to thinking about nepotism in business or politics. It is very much the same animal. The members of the family all have a special protection because they are family. This can work, like the fascist parable that it is easy to break one stick, but 7 cannot be broken. But it is also dangerous in several ways, enough so that I would try to avoid it. I get suspicious when I see a business run by a family. It can be strong or shot through with holes. The trumpet was big on family, spanning several wives. And the PM is too, with his 2 wives. He has heartwarming stories about taking care of his boys. Other tales are not so coochie-coo. Family can help, but the PM may realize one day that nepotism can hurt you, too.